Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you. Coming at you with Purrely. I'm actually just playing a pure version of Purrely. Of course, as always, we're going to go over the deck list later. But we're going to start with gameplay, beginning with a going first game against a 60-card Orcust deck. A grass build, so to speak. Opening hand is looking fantastic. We have My Friend, a couple of quick play spells, Ash Blossom, and Call By, everything you want to see. Of course, we're going to hit that Droll and Lockbird with the Call By, because we're definitely not done searching for this turn. I guess we could be if we really wanted to, because we're going to actually end up setting the trap card, of course, with the Purrely Noir. This sets it directly from deck. It actually doesn't search it. So I technically did not have to Call By that Droll and Lockbird. However, I do still want to search. I want to search for the field spell. The field spell is so critical to the Purrely combo, not just for attaching, you know, more copies of the Sleepy Memory for more draws, but also protecting all of your stuff from being targeted. That is very important. So I'll talk about this a little bit more in the deck section, but I think if you're playing a straight up pure Purrely deck like this in the current meta, you're going to run into a little bit of issues. Purrely, I think it's pretty clear to see, definitely is not at the same power level as a lot of stuff in this meta. And a pure Purrely deck really does not have a ton of solid one-card combo lines. As you can see, even with an opening hand where I had My Friend plus 2 quick play spells, I'm still just going to end on a 5 material Noir, which is really what you would expect to end on for the most part. Going to get a lot of draws along the way. They're going to draw on Lockbird. Of course, I got hit with a Call By, so that doesn't matter. And then they're actually going to concede at that point, which is kind of funny. So, I mean, yeah, that was a really short first replay to have here. Mostly wanted to kind of highlight that, like, hey, even if you have a great Purrely hand, you're still just ending on a 5 material Noir. Which here was enough to get my opponent to concede. And to be fair, also does come with a couple of draws. But you kind of have to be really smart about how you use the Noir's, shuffle effect, right? One, because you're only going to get 2 of them. 2 interrupts going into a board in this meta is really not that much. And you're also going to make your Noir unaffected, so it won't be a towers anymore. That said, if you're able to do those things, you can still find success in the current meta. And we're going to show the next replay where we are in a game state like that, and we do find some success. Alright, this next replay against Blue Eyes is definitely going to be, again, more of like me showing what Purrely is actually like doing when you interact with the opponent. That first game was showing a good setup, but yeah, here all we have is the one pretty memory. Well, we do also have the field spell and the Yeep, to be fair, but just the one quick play spell as far as like starters go. So we're going to go for Purrely for My Friend. My Friend is going to find Sleepy Memories. Definitely want to go for Sleepy Memory to get draws, for sure. I decided not to discard Call By here, just because it would summon Purrely and like maybe get me another quick play spell, which I don't need here because I already have the Yeep. But here's the thing, if I didn't open the Yeep, then I think I would have had to have gone for the Purrely special summon and hoped I find another quick play spell off the top of the deck. Then I would have been able to have attached to Noir's material and set Yeep from deck. Now, because I still chose not to go for the discard here, I'm only going to end up with a 4 material X Purrely Noir on the opponent's turn. I'll still get the draw 2, and I'll still be able to spin 2 cards back into my opponent's deck, but I'm not gonna have an unaffected Noir up front, which could be an issue. We'll have to see. Granted, because of the field spell, it's still not able to be targeted, but I feel like this is just another example of showing just how precarious it can be to set up plays of this deck, right? Like, you've got all these quick play spells, but they're not actually one-card starters. Even when you do discard to summon from deck, it's not necessarily a one-card play, which is like, when Purrely first came out, that wasn't really that much of an issue to be on 2-card combos. Nowadays, though, you really can't be playing a meta deck that's relying on 2-card combo lines. It's really just not as feasible anymore. Now, like I mentioned before, if you're smart about how you use your Noir interactions, you can still get away with only the 2. I'm going to use my first one to put back the Lordly Load and not have to deal with the Primite Engine at all. I don't want to deal with drill beams or anything like that. Now, for the next one, I'm going to go for the True Light. And I'm going to put that back in order to make sure that my opponent doesn't have access to it. And also, more importantly, I'm responding to these continuous spell and trap cards by putting them back so that they don't resolve. Not everybody knows this, but in case you don't, if a continuous spell or trap card is already face up on the field and activating its effect, or even is being activated from the hand and activating its effect, if you respond by removing it from the field, it actually does not resolve. You effectively, quote-unquote, negate it. It's not an actual negate, but, you know, it's about as close as you're going to get in a deck like Purrely, where you don't end on negates. Alright, here they're going to go for the Spirit with Eyes of Blue, adding Mausoleum. Mausoleum F, they're going to tribute the Spirit. And then I'm going to use Called By here on the Spirit with Eyes of Blue, to which they're going to respond with a Ghost Spell. Not ideal, but hey, you know, at least I tried. And I'm glad I had the Call By here in this situation, even though to get Ghost Spelled to have more interaction on the opponent's turn. Alright, they get to revive the Maiden. They're going for the Mausoleum F, targeting the Maiden, which of course will revive the Sage. So they're going to go for the Battle with the Blue Eyes White Dragon, which I'm glad they actually led with that, because now it means they're not going to have anything to respond with the Field and the Continuous Spell. Remember that the My Friend lets you add back up to 3 Quick Play spells, and the Field Spell lets you summon a level 1 kitty when your Purrely Noir gets destroyed. That's one of the reasons why I was kind of fine with my Purrely Noir not being affected, or not being unaffected, rather, by only having 4 materials. Because 1, it can't be targeted because of the field spell anyway, and then 2, even if it does get answered, then I still have all these resources I gain, you know, as a result. And it's actually enough that my opponent's going to concede, which I kind of don't blame them, because they've already used their battle phase, and I have 7 cards in hand going into their turn. So this is where Purrely can still have an advantage in this meta, and that's the resource generation. The downside to that is that, you know, your opponent has to play into it. They have to destroy your monster while the field and continuous spell are up. For a lot of opponents, they'll, you know, mostly just try to deal with those cards, and then your Xyz monster. But here we did still get to get the advantage, if nothing else. Alright, got one more duel. Let's go ahead and show that off before we take a look at the deck list here. And this final game is going to be up against Maliss. And it's like, this is just one of those matchups where, like, when you're the one playing a pure Purrely deck, and then you realize you're up against Maliss, that inherently, like, already just feels pretty bad. It feels pretty bad. Alright, I'm going to leave with normal summon Purrely here, and they're going to chain Maxi. Definitely not ideal for me. I probably should just chain the Sleepy Memory here, but I wanted to see what I found off the Purrely to see if I really wanted to even commit to making more plays here. We do find the field spell, so I decided to just go for it. So, like, yeah, ideally I should have just chained the quick play spell to the Maxi. But again, I wanted to see what I found first, see if I want to commit to making more plays. Here, I'm fine with giving them 2 draws, because that's all I'm going to give them to set up my board. Basically, they're just going to go +1 with the Maxi. I still get set up an Purrely Noir with the Sleepy Memories attached, and, you know, it'll get to be a 5 material Purrely Noir on my opponent's turn. And actually, the cool thing is here it'll have 3 Sleepy Memories, meaning ideally I get to draw 6 during my opponent's turn. But I don't know, things are already looking a little bit dicey here. With them going March Hare, White Rabbit, activating TB11, all during my end phase. Adding back the March Hare, they summon a Chessy Cat as well. Alright, draw, standby. We're going to try to get those draws with the Purrely Noir, but unfortunately for me, they're going to chain Maliss in the Mirror. That means I have to yeep now, and I was going to say, hope they don't have a Dominus Impulse, because that would have just beaten me right there, but Yeah, we still get to draw a total of 4 here. Because we get that 1 draw off Purrely Noir, and then Purrely Noir still gets 3 draws, because I have 3 sleeping memories attached. Obviously, would have liked to have had 6 draws, but... oh, you know what they say about beggars and choosers. Yeah, they're going to go for Chessy Cat draws here. I'm going to fire off Droll, because it's not like I have a Maxi in my hand anyway, so... might as well stop the Red Ransom search, as well as, potentially stopping Wicked for a backup secretary, but they have so many cards in hand. I would not be surprised if they just had a backup secretary anyway. Alright, so they're going for Link Decoder, and after the Thulos normal summon, I was like, okay, they're just trying to go for like Red Ransom or White Binder here. I'll put back the Link Decoder, and they're going to link it off for the... yeah, they linked off the Rabbit for the Link Decoder. I really should have put this back after the summon resolved. I should have figured they had backup at Administer. I think that was a major misplay for me in this game. Because if I put back Link Decoder on a summon, or like right after the summon resolved, they would have been able to special summon backup at Administer. Although, to be fair, they still had March Hare in hand anyway, so it's like, I think I would have been screwed no matter what. Okay, here's the Red Ransom. Link Decoder for the revive. They're gonna make a Splash Mage. No, an SP Little Knight here. I saw Link 2, I just assumed the Splash Mage. Banishing my field spell before moving to battle phase. Yeah, the stat swap also really screwed with me here. The fact they're able to battle over the Purrely Noir so easily. Like, even when I go for the effect, they can still just banish revive right next to it. And now the stats are swapped yet again, so... yeah, getting rid of the Red Ransom didn't even do anything there. My friend gets to add back Sleepy Memory, but now they can just pop off. I'm going to go for a Nibiru here, but they had Crossout. Oh, no. Oh, God, yeah, that Crossout was so brutal. But it's like, you got to expect them to have something, right? Like, they drew so many cards, there's no way they wouldn't. So now I'm in this situation where it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get another turn, but like, things are really not looking good for me as they're just continuing to pop. Like, even with this many cards in hand, I still just don't feel good at all, right? Because Droll's not gonna do anything, Nib's not gonna do anything, my friend doesn't do anything because I already have one in hand. Call by is like maybe some amount of interaction, so I basically just have Happy and Sleepy Memory. Which, yeah, I could try to Happy Memory in OTK, but there's no way that's going to actually pan out for me. Again, it's kind of what I was alluding to before, where it's like, you're just when you're on a pure Purrely deck, you're just inherently struggling in this meta. Now, there are arguments to be made of, well, okay, so don't play a pure Purrely deck, but again, I'm going to talk about that here in a second when we go into the deck breakdown. Okay, they're gonna set GWC. There goes my friend. Like they're making Allied Code Talker. I'm gonna throw the rest of this game in fast forward just because, like, you can already just see how jovial it is for me at this point. Yeah, they've got the Heart Scripter they can revive. They got the Allied Code. They got the Little Knight. They're gonna use Allied Code on the my friend. Then negate and banish. We're gonna try to Happy Memory and see if we can't go for something here. I'm going to call by the Heart Scripter. That way it cannot activate and use its banish effect, but we're still pretty screwed here. Like, even if I go to activate the Purrely effect to reveal Happy, they can still just SP and tag out, which might even be what they end up doing here. No, they actually let me do it. Wow, there's the happiness. But the stats are swapped. Yeah, that's why I had to concede there. Because even if I'm able to stick the happiness, the stats on it are still swapped. Oh, it's so brutal. Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, you're trying to play Purrely in 2025. This is going to happen a lot. Anyway, let's talk about the deck a little bit. Both the list I have and the Purrely as a whole. So like I said, I'm on a pure Purrely build, so I'm not even playing the Ghost Trick stuff because I didn't want to shell out the URs for it. Of course, the Ghost Trick engine is referring to mostly using the rank 1 Dullahan to then overlay into Angel of Mischief, while also using Shot in order to get more bodies. But again, I didn't want to craft these Ghost Trick URs for a deck Purrely that I wasn't even really going to play that much anyway, so yeah. That would have been the better way to go about it, but there are definitely other ways you can go about it as well. One way you can actually play this deck that I didn't hear, because again I didn't want to craft URs, is Mitsurugi. Mitsurugi Purrely is actually possible, and the main way to do that would be to play Diviner, which, as you can see, I don't own any, so that's why I didn't go for this route. But yeah, so if you normal summon Diviner, you can bin Herald of the Arclight, which will then let you add the Habakiri from deck to hand, and that's your Mitsurugi plays. But you'll also notice that Diviner, when tributed, can special summon a level 2 or lower fairy from your hand or deck. So all you have to do is tribute Diviner for either like prayers or Habakiri or something like that, and then you can special summon a Purrely from your deck, which upon special summon will grab a My Friend. And so that's how normal summon Diviner is actually both full Mitsurugi plays while also setting up Purrely plays. So again, if I wanted to shell out more URs, I could have made a better variant for Purrely, but kind of wanted to compare Purrely's power level. And okay, I'll be honest, I mostly just didn't want to craft the URs. For again, Purrely is not a deck I'm going to be playing a lot, so. Now, one variant I could have tried that because I have all the stuff for it, is Fiendsmith. Fiendsmith Purrely is also a thing because you can use extra bodies summoned off of your quick play spells to, you know, obviously then go into your Moon of the Closed Heaven. But I was also kind of thinking about this, right? Because something that a lot of Purrely players have done in the past is play Brow, Huntsman of Darkworld. That way, when you discard it for the quick play spells, you get a draw. But wouldn't it be better? What if you played 3 copies of Fabled Lurie instead of 3 copies of Brow? That way, when you discard the Lurie off of a Purrely quick play spell, you don't just get one draw and nothing else. You get to go into your full Fiendsmith line. Also, if you draw a Lurie with no Purrely cards, you can still normal summon Lurie and set up a Fiendsmith board. Whereas if you draw a Brow with no Purrely cards, you're just gonna be really sad. So I might try that at some point. That is something that I think could be pretty interesting, is 3 copies of Fabled Lurie in Purrely. That way you can open it with your quick play spell more often, and then go into full Fiendsmith plus Purrely combo. Purrely has a lot of room in the extra deck. Like, these Utopic Future cards are very optional. Princess Sprite is very optional. Downerd is very optional. Typhon and SP are very optional. Honestly, even second copies of a lot of things like Plump, Happiness, and Beauty are, in the grand scheme of things, very optional. So, there's a lot of different ways you can build Purrely. I think the pure variant that I have here is actually potentially the weakest. So there's more room to go up if you wanted to, for sure. But, alright, I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about as far as Purrely goes. Following the ban list. I didn't even mention this up till this point, but the whole reason I played Purrely was because Delicious Memory is at 3. Yeah, it's funny how despite Delicious Memory being at 3, it's actually still not enough to make up just the sheer lack of power level that Purrely has in this meta. But again, there are other ways you could take it that we just highlighted a moment ago. So anyway, that'll do it for now. This is Hexlex, about ready to sign out. But before I do, let us move on to our outro. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is HexLex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.